Dr. Buckman, can you tell us what the main themes were of your speech today?
I wanted to explain to the representative body about what had gone on this year, in particular the difficulties over the extended hours problem, where we had an imposed solution which wasn't really a solution, the campaign of denigration against GPs, the refusal to pay us any more money, the interference with the way the health service is working, and particularly the privatisation, and the presence of a polyclinic in your area producing a donut of death of local surgeries around them, none of which we want to see. And those are my main themes, as well as looking forward to the future, looking to see how we could develop our supporting surgeries campaign and try and get more younger doctors into practices, preferably as partners. That was enough to be getting on with, I think.
Okay. There were quite a lot of angry motions at the GP the conference this year, the odd one directed at GPC itself. How do you respond to those motions, and what would you say in response to the proposers of some of those?
I understand why people are angry. They don't like what's happened to them. None of us like what's happened to us. I've had a pay cut just like everybody else, and I don't blame anybody for being angry at that. It's very distressing being attacked absolutely incessantly in the press. That is very, very wearing. Sometimes it's by press people, but more usually it's by government ministers attacking us, or people saying things which by innuendo make GPs look bad. That's very wearing too. There was one motion of quite considerable criticism about the GPC, which was really about what was said to be our surrender in the extended hours problem that the government had or presented us with. And I think it's difficult to see what else we could have done. We were told you can have this imposition or that imposition, and I think what the people who complained wanted was that we should say we'll have neither. But actually, if we'd said we'll have neither, we would have got one of them anyway. So that seemed to be a completely futile gesture, and I hope I rebutted that. Anyway, we won the debate because it just was nonsense that we would be campaigning to end up in a null position where we had an imposition on us. That seemed to me to be not a very good deal. In the end, we of course did have an imposition, but we accepted the imposition that was not as bad as the other imposition. Not much of a deal really, and I don't blame people for being really angry about that, because we certainly were.
One of your earlier answers, you mentioned the Support Your Surgery campaign. Can you tell us a little bit more about how that's going to progress in the next 6 months or so? And also maybe address some of the criticisms that have come from government. Ben Bradshaw has accused you of scaremongering and arm-twisting patients to sign the recent petition, and how you maybe respond to that.
Yes, I mean, that's just such rubbish. 1.25 million people signed the petition. Are they really saying that we drove around to people's houses and made old ladies cut the coupons out of their newspapers in the morning, or forced people to go online and sign the petition? Of course we didn't. We asked people to sign and they willingly chose to, and there are lots of people who chose to because they don't like what the government's doing to primary care. Looking at the longer term campaign, we now have to move into a different phase, because now the government is going to push through procurements absolutely everywhere, and we're going to see polyclinics and GP-led health centres popping up all over the country. What we have to do is get patients to complain to overview and scrutiny committees of the local councils to get them to stop new clinic developments. And that's quite a thing. That's going to take a lot of energy. Every GP in the country has got to get their patients complaining to the local overview and scrutiny committees of the council. Unless we do that, those procurements are going to go ahead. The procurements really get going over July, August, September. By September, things will be cemented, and by December, the contracts will be in. Once contracts are in, it's going to be very, very difficult for anybody to stop these things going ahead. And then we will have to move into a different phase of the campaign where we outmaneuver new entrants to general practice. Not because we don't want people to be GPs, but because we don't want the commercial sector damaging what everybody else is doing. And I think that's a real concern, that practices particularly near the new centres are going to be hit badly. Practices that are remote or more remote from these centres probably won't be affected, and we must be very careful not to scare people. I don't accept for a second the charge of scaremongering. I think the reason why people are scared is because they're scared, and that's because the thing is scary. But when I tell my patients that there is no immediate risk to my practice and our services, I have to get that message across to them very clearly. I think other people have to get that message across to their patients. Don't scare people unless it's true, unless you really are going to be effective, unless you really are next door to one of these unnecessary health centres, which are going to clearly damage and compromise patient care.
Okay, thank you very much.